Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 235th episode of Real Hawk Talk. I am Brian Nemhauser, and you can find me on Twitter at HawkBlogger. I am here with my buddy Nathan Ernst at NathanE11 on Twitter to talk to you about a Seahawks victory over the Los Angeles Rams. As we've always become familiar with seeing, the Seahawks beat the Rams every time they play them, no matter what. And this time was no different. Seriously, I found this game somewhere between aggravating and hilarious. The part of this game that just is inarguably delicious is the way that it ended with DK Metcalf catching a touchdown over Jalen Ramsey to win the game. I don't think you could have scripted something better other than maybe if DK had just been burning Ramsey all day. But I mean, that was just like, that was chef's kiss. That was amazing. And give it up for Geno Smith. 28 for 39, 367 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 1 very, very fluky interception, 116.1 passer rating. He took a bunch of hits today. There was a time where Drew Lock was warming up on the sideline because he just got blown up into that fumble. And he came back in and he kept throwing and he kept throwing. He had no running game to lean on. He had no running back to lean on. And he just willed this team to a win over a team that, frankly, seemed a little bit more up for this game than the Seahawks did. And we'll talk a little bit about that. If you haven't already, please make sure you take a chance to go to Twitter, tag at Evan Hill HB, and just let him know how shitty of a coach Sean McVay is and how clearly Pete Carroll has overcome what was always a talent advantage for Sean McVay. And now when the teams were much more even, the better coach won. We know that now. Make sure Evan knows. Evan actually was at this game. I would have been entertained to watch Evan through this game. Enough of me for the time being. Let me bring in Nathan Ernst. Nathan, what do you make of this 27-23 Seahawks victory that moves them to 7-5?
They survived. They got through it. They survived it. I don't know that it portends a lot of great things for the Seahawks team, but it's a dub. They got the dub, so yeah. That's where I am. They got to win. I mean, this team is, I think, clearly what it is at this point. They are probably going to make the playoffs. They are almost certainly going to get demolished in the playoffs, and that's fine. It'll be fun. It's been an interesting year.
Yeah, I already see the chat blowing up with all these like all caps takes, which have fun. I mean, of course, this is a time to do it. And some people are like, this is not a playoff team, and other people like, this is a big win, and the Seahawks are going to make the playoffs. Guess what? Both of those things can be true. The Seahawks may not be a playoff quality team, but if you look around the NFC and you look at the schedules that are out there for the rest of the way, there is, I believe, an over 80% chance now. I haven't looked, but I think before the game I saw if the Seahawks won this game, their playoff odds were going to be over 80%. Now, other results like the tie with the Giants and the Commanders may impact that, but still, the odds are in the Seahawks' favor. That said, this Rams team, I tried to explain it to my wife, Nathan. Like, she's like, it seems like they're doing okay. And I'm like, you don't understand. This is like, there are college teams that might be able to compete with the level of talent the Rams are running out there on offense this week. I mean, Wolford, like an offensive line that has not a single good player on it, running backs that haven't done anything all year long, receivers that Tutu Atwell was like a game-changing player for them. Brandon Powell was a game-changing player for them.
Is that Brandon Powell?
It is Brandon Powell, yes.
Oh, I thought it was Bilal Powell, and I was like, if you told me he was out of the league 4 years ago, I would have believed you. So I probably would have been right. But okay,
yeah, that is a woefully bad offensive team, and for the first quarter, the Seahawks looked like they were going to give up 400 yards and like 30 plus points to them. In the end, they end up giving up 23 points, which is only the third time all year the Rams have scored more than 20 points. That's how bad this offense has been. That is how bad this defense is. I mean, I don't want to just start by shitting all over the defense. We'll come back to that. But like, there is nothing to be proud of about giving up 23 points to this offense. Staying in the positive for a second, what did you see? What did you think about Geno's game today?
His numbers are great, obviously. A lot of people are excited that he's gotten the game-winning drive monkey off of his back, but I was never concerned about that. Like, Trayton brought it up in the chat, and I said he had a game-winning drive last week, and they didn't win that game, obviously, but he led them down and scored with something like 5 minutes left in that game. If the defense wasn't ass, I think he would have had a couple more game-winning drives this year. So that part doesn't mean a lot to me. The pick was fluky, but I'm still my faith in him as like if they get the number 2 pick in this draft, I'm not in the point where I would prefer to draft a quarterback, but I'm moving in that direction. Some of the sacks, which I don't think are totally his fault, but still, like the fumble, he tried very hard to throw a pick on the second to last drive, I think it was, when they kicked the field goal. So yeah, I mean, he's kind of an interest. It's kind of interesting. I think the turnover worthy plays. I haven't looked at it in a while. I'd be interested to see where he ranks on that. Some of his turnovers feel fluky, and his not turnovers feel fluky too. So I'm actually kind of sliding on. I know we wanted to stay on the positive stuff right now. And he overall had a good game, but like that's not an impressive defense that he played against. And
I don't know. The secondary is not bad. They've got some good players in the secondary. I don't think that's an awful secondary. And in fact, the Rams
defense and who else, right?
Well, I mean, I think Rap's not awful. I think that Troy Hill, did he not play today? I mean, Nick Scott's not bad. I think he's a decent safety. I thought that play by who was it? Was it Durant that made that play at the end, broke on the ball? That was a pretty sweet play when Tyler was open. I think not being able to run the ball against a team that doesn't have Aaron Donald and giving up pass pressure to a team that doesn't have anybody on the defensive line. Well, I guess they had Leonard Floyd, but that was a bigger issue to me. I feel differently than you.
Like coverage pressures to you though, or coverage sacks and coverage pressures. Like, and I don't know how much of that belongs to Geno and how much of that belongs to scheme and how much of that belongs to receivers, but like it felt like there was a lot of slow developing pressure on him.
I would be interested when you go back, like you watch again. I didn't have that impression in this game. I saw a couple of the sacks were very clearly blitz pickup errors by running backs that were pretty quick pressure. You had Charles Cross giving up a very quick, backside pressure. I think the fumble one, I think is fair that he held onto that ball a little while. But yeah, it's funny. Like I see this game differently for Geno. I've been the one that's kind of been hard on him the last couple of weeks. I feel like he had starting to really increase his questionable throws. I thought that his advantage at the line of scrimmage seemed to have disappeared. We weren't seeing the quick, easy throws, and he wasn't getting us into plays that were advantageous as much. Plus, we were seeing some just boneheaded mistakes like that fumble on the handoff last week. And I thought this was one of his best games. So we see this one pretty differently, and doesn't mean that one's right or one wrong, but it's just interesting to see the same game and see it, first blush. This, more than any other game, felt like the whole game was on his shoulders.
Mhm.
Defense was awful. No running game. Pass protection wasn't great. And it just felt like he totally made this happen on his own. And quite honestly, Nathan, I feel like the Seahawks should have lost this game. I think I'll go as far as to say if this was last year and Russ was the quarterback before this year, they would have lost this game. I don't think Russ could have done what we saw Geno do in this game. That's my opinion. But I thought this was a really, really impressive outcome. But I mean, beyond Geno, I was actually impressed a little bit by guys like DJ Dallas and Marquise Goodwin playing through injury. They didn't do anything spectacular, but that catch by Goodwin was pretty damn key on that final drive. What did you think of the game by Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf?
I thought Lockett played well. I don't know. Like I'm saying, I felt for a while that there are a lot of coverage pressures, and I don't know exactly how you divvy up that blame. But I felt like that was a thing again today, and I don't know how much of that is on Lockett. I don't know how much of that is on DK. Just like getting open or not getting open, right? So I don't know. There's like going back to Geno a little bit. I still think he is going to be a productive quarterback in the league for several years. Like I think how he is playing will work, and whether it's here in Seattle or somewhere else, I think he's going to be a good quarterback. Just for me, generally, I'm starting to wonder if he's really the guy that you want to tie yourself to for the next 3 or 4 years.
Well, for what it's worth, I want to bring in Jeff Simmons here in a second. No matter what Geno does the rest of the year, I'm not willing to tie ourselves to him forever. Like I still want the Seahawks to draft a quarterback this year. I am increasingly more comfortable with, and we'll get into this more probably Wednesday, but increasingly comfortable with them getting an extra first round pick next year to potentially go after a first round quarterback if they don't hit on a later round quarterback this year. But yeah, to me, the question is more, is it an emergency that you get a young quarterback to start next year? And this game helped for me on that regard, relieve some of the pressure. It sounds like it did the exact opposite for you. Jeff, let's bring you into here at Real Jeff Simmons on Twitter. What did you make of Geno's game? I'm sure you've got comments on the overall game, but Nathan and I were just talking about Geno and had some different perspectives.
Some really, really good and some very, very frustrating. Like until the last drive to be in Rams scoring position 3 or 4 times and only have 3 or 6 points. And some of the turnovers were just alarming plays. But I think Geno just, when they needed him at the end of the game, you saw like converting the 3rd and 10 and then the red zone pass. So you see a lot of good, and you see it's sort of adding to what we've kind of seen the last few weeks where there's been a lot of good, but there's still been sort of the old Geno, and there's been bad, and there's been turnover. Even when like the drive before where they're driving the game, it's 3rd and 10. I think they throw, then again, a field goal there, and they throw to the corner of the end zone. Like that was an awful, awful decision. But again, Geno, the one thing we haven't seen this year is do that game-winning drive. And that, for me, that's a cool thing for him. But again, there's a lot of good, and there's still a little things that leave you wondering. And I understand why you guys are coming in with the perspective you guys are.
Yeah, so I'm going to run through some things that I thought were good. And Jeff, then I'll hand it over to you for your general comments. A couple things. One, Tyler Lockett goes 9 catches, 128 yards, 1 touchdown, 9 catches and 12 targets. DK Metcalf goes 8 catches and 8 targets. 8 catches and 8 targets. I'm going to look that up, but I would bet you that is the highest catch rate on 8+ targets in DK Metcalf's career, or 7+, maybe even 5+. This is not a guy that's been a high catch rate guy. Goes 8 for 8 in this game with 1 touchdown, including the game winner.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and guarantee it's the highest he's ever had.
I think it's a pretty good.
A little harder to go higher.
I'm just saying, even if it was 5 targets, like
sure.
I don't think this guy has had that kind of game before. I thought Noah Fant, 4 catches, 5 targets, 42 yards and a touchdown. I thought his catch on the final drive was pretty damn key too, and I thought he was going to drop it. It wasn't the easiest catch, but like it just he reached down, he made the catch. As a guy that's been critical of him, I thought he played well. I think you got to bring up Tariq Woolen. I mean, gets the pick. They never look tough with him. It's like, that was a terrible throw. But he just kind of covers so much ground and covers so much space that he just makes it hard to complete. He gave up one big completion, but then at the end, I mean, that break on the ball and pass breakup he had there, he's special. He's a special player. That was fun to watch. Uchenna Nwosu had a couple plays in this game. Worth bringing that up. 12 catches and 13 targets is not the same. Sorry.
I'll take 12 on 13 over 8 for 8.
I'm just saying, I don't think he's ever had that high of a rate with that many targets or close. But that is a worthwhile game to bring up. I give you that. I thought Trey Brown looked good in this game. I thought he made one play that was a pass interference. It was a legit call. But his break on the ball there was better than any break we've seen from Mike Jackson in at least a few weeks. So I was happy to see that. That's probably as far as I can go with things that were good. Jeff, what about you? What stood out to you in this game?
Well, I think just the perspective of, I know, Brian, I know you were just watching Denver into watching Seattle. And it's still remarkable to me, even we can complain about Geno, just how much better Geno is playing than Russell right now. I don't want to make it into that, but just watching, it's eye-opening watching that Russell scored 6 points of offense today. And Geno, just like we can complain about Geno, he's playing at a remarkably higher level. Offensively, yeah, the receivers were really, really good today. I thought Goodwin made a big catch as well. And defensively, like Tariq Woolen, I know Nwosu made a couple splash plays, but he was kind of all over the place when they were going with those play action rollouts, and they were really taking advantage of our edge play all game and how aggressive we were trying to be. And defensively, Trey Brown made a couple nice plays, and I think the clock's starting to tick for Mike Jackson in terms of like he's a capable filler, but he's not a starting caliber player if we want to take the next level. I think Ryan Neal's sort of getting to that level, and just it's defensively, it's hard to find a lot of positive. They are hard to watch right now. It's pretty demoralizing watching them every series.
Okay, I need to ask you both 2 questions. You can't look at numbers. If you have, then you have to bow out. How many rushing yards did the Rams have today?
69.
Huh?
69.
69. Jeff?
No, I remember they flashed it during the game at one point, and I remember being caught off guard. It was like 169.
It's 171.
Damn.
Yeah, they flashed something.
I appreciate you guessing low, Nathan. Not one of those guys that guesses 250 yards just to make it. 171 yards to that team. That's rough.
How much of that? What was like the first half, second half breakdown? Because at least like it felt like a lot of those came in the first half, and then they got a little better in the second half.
They had quite a few in the second half, but they weren't from the running back.
No, it was a lot of those end arounds.
Okay.
And like Walford runs, and
there's
a Perkins run in there.
Yeah. Do either of you think that Tutu Atwell played better in this game than we've ever seen D. Eskridge play?
I was waiting for that. No, I don't think so.
You think D. Eskridge has played as good or better than we saw Tutu Atwell in this game?
Yeah. Now he's never over a whole game.
Yeah.
No, because Eskridge can't stay healthy. But like, I mean, look at that team. They are down to like very little on receiver, and he is just now getting highlighted. Like, if
I don't think that's the point you necessarily that really helps D. I mean, the fact that Atwell's that far down and still is outperforming Eskridge.
No, but my point is like he's only getting all of this volume because they don't have anybody else.
Sure.
Well, it's not like he has earned this time over Allen Robinson or something like that.
100% agree.
Now, he's available, and that's a hell of a lot more than D's ever been. So, like, from that perspective, yeah, I mean,
That's
you have to.
fascinating. I felt like the catch he made over the middle was better than any play we've seen Eskridge make in his career. I thought
was a
that
great catch.
his end arounds, his jet sweeps were better than any of the jet sweeps we've seen from
No,
Eskridge.
I would absolutely very much disagree with you. D is a much better runner with the ball in hands. Atwell looks like a guy his size running with the ball. D does not look like a small receiver running the ball when he's got the ball in his hands.
Wow. We're seeing a lot of things differently. That's good. That makes
Well, I want to go back to the Geno thing because somebody else was saying, oh, Hawk bloggers complaining in the chat. And I like that when I say things, everyone's just like, Hawk blogger, Hawk blogger. That's great cover for me. I don't think Geno played bad today. I think he played a good game. I think what he is doing is reproducible, and he will continue to be a good quarterback in the league for at least a few more years. My only thing is, over the past few weeks, like, if the question is, are you going to give this guy like 4 years, 35, 40? Like, people were giving me crap in my mentions last week because I ran a poll about where the biggest contract option was the Tannehill contract, and people said that there's no way he'd accept the Tannehill contract. So my comments are just in the context of, is this your next franchise quarterback? And from that perspective, I'm coming back a little bit. I think Geno is a good quarterback who played well today and will continue to play well.
It doesn't sound like we're actually that far off.
Yeah.
I've already kind of come to the conclusion he is not. I would be comfortable with, like, even we've been talking about the non-guaranteed franchise. I don't know if I'd even make that offer to him necessarily. Like,
really,
a transition tag offer, you just get to match it. I would potentially consider that.
I disagree with that. I think that's insane. Geno's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now.
I mean, yes, I'm not saying like I want
not even do it at 1 year.
I think it's only like a few million difference, and if that's the case, then I don't.
Yeah, and one guarantees you picks if they get it.
Yeah, of course. If there's a $5 million difference, $8 million difference, maybe. But I just don't know. I don't know if we'll see how he ends the year. Before this week, I don't know that anyone was going to come up to $30 million a year for Geno before this week, but we'll see. Jeff, you brought up one of the other pieces of good news for the day that had nothing to do with this game. I assume you watched the Broncos game, right?
Yeah.
Or at least you watched the outcome.
No, I watched the whole game.
I'm going to put you on the spot. What was your highest level of joy today? When the Broncos lost or when the Seahawks won?
Oh, it wasn't even close. When the Broncos won. It was
Broncos lost.
When the Broncos lost, when Hundley scored that touchdown and then they missed the field goal, I was going nuts. There wasn't one point in the Seahawks game where I got even like remotely excited. That game was like 3 hours at the dentist office. It felt like just watching them play defense, and then they almost blew the game at the end. Even when they scored at the end, I wasn't even that excited. I was kind of like, okay, they won, sure. But Denver, like, they should have won that game. The win percentage had to be in the 90s. And when Huntley had that drive, and I'm texting you, and I was going pretty crazy because they blew 2 chances to score earlier in the game. And yeah, it was by far Denver.
Nathan, same question to you. Are you like super invested in this pick that we're getting from the Broncos? Is that like on your mind each weekend?
It's not. I think at this point it's pretty locked in to be a top 5 pick. So I'm not worrying about it too much at this point. So yeah, I was a very good boy today, and I cared more about the Seahawks win than the Broncos loss. Also, I threw out in the chat, in the group chat, that I felt like the Broncos might beat the Ravens. So I had a little bit of a prior on that one. So if they had come through, I had the I told you so's ready for you. So
you're right. They should have won.
But wait, then you're not a good boy, because then you're actually putting yourself above the Seahawks pick.
No, I rooted for the Seahawks. That's all that matters. Go Hawks.
I don't know, man. That was for people that don't know anything about that game. The Broncos led pretty much the whole game. Lamar Jackson got hurt in the first quarter, I think, Jeff. Out the whole game.
Yeah.
Tyler Huntley, is it Tyler Huntley? I think it is. Was in there as backup. the Broncos managed to put up 9 points. The Ravens drove a couple times, threw one pick, and then they did some trick play, threw another pick in the end zone. They got the ball at their own 8-yard line. They had a 4th down on their own, deep in their own side of the field, and drove it the whole field, scored a touchdown. I think they had multiple 4th downs on that drive that they converted. And they score a touchdown. Then the Broncos get it back with 30 seconds. Russ manages to scramble and complete a pass and scramble and puts him in range where McManus could have kicked. I think it was a 63-yarder. The guy's got a big leg, and it was dead on, but it came up short. And so that was huge. That was huge because the Bears blew their game today.
Yeah.
That was a big deal and could have helped the Seahawks pick. Ends up, Broncos do their job. They lose. And now they play the Chiefs, I believe, next week. So they've got 2 games against the Chiefs. They're going to have home against the Cardinals. They're going to play at the Rams, I believe. And then I think they play the Chargers. So this was a big one. Big one if you care about getting one of those, top 3 pick kind of things. Top 5, I agree with Nathan. Looks pretty good, but Seahawks have a chance to get the 3rd, maybe the 2nd pick. And if you care about that, this was a good day for Seahawks fans in that regard. All right. Guys, I mean, part of the reason this game was hard for me is I'm just looking at the Seahawks defense and I'm like, does it really matter? Whatever they do the rest of the year, what matters? And the only thing that matters to me at this point would be to see the offensive line actually figure out how to run block, figure out how to get a little solid there, see if Geno can keep it up. I'd love to see Kenneth Walker get healthy. He was hurt in this game. Don't know if he's going to come back. I'd love him to get Offensive Rookie of the Year, but that's slipping away. What is on your mind for the Seahawks the rest of the year? Nathan?
Tariq Woolen, Defensive Player of the Year. Why are we not banging the drum on this more as Seahawks fans?
Defensive Player of the Year or Defensive Rookie of the Year?
Defensive Player, not rookie, Player of the Year. He leads the league in interceptions. I get it. It's probably a long shot. There's name recognition and all kinds of other stuff. But I'm just saying that we as Seahawks fans are failing, that we are not being completely obnoxious about this. Everyone needs to be doing Tariq Woolen hashtag Depoy. There's no reason not to bang this drum more because he's leading the league in interceptions. And he's legitimately, extremely good. I probably don't need to sell anybody listening to this on how good Tariq Woolen is, but that matters to me a lot. I think we should be trying to, Defensive Rookie of the Year feels like a lock. And then what more can he get there?
That's a good one. Jeff, what about you? What are you paying attention to on the Seahawks the rest of the year?
It's all about who the key guys are moving forward. And Brian, I'm sort of with you. I've kind of seen enough. I know what this team is now. The patterns are clear. So a lot is, I guess, seeing who's going to be moving forward. So someone like Trey Brown. I want to see Trey Brown start and get more snaps. Geno, obviously, every game is an important data point. Today we saw him do something he hasn't really done all year, which was lead a game-winning drive with 2 minutes to go. If offensive line, we know who the key guys are, but what happens with Phil Haynes? What happens with Austin Blythe's plays really regressed. So it's a lot of the guys who leads into players for next year, who can play. Is Darrell Taylor going to do anything? He had should have got a penalty on a key play, but still not seeing much there. And it's just focusing on that because at best this team is a 7 seed because of a watered down conference, and they probably lose in the first round because they can't even play defense against John Walford and this Rams team. So it's all about who can play, who the key guys are next year, and what they can contribute.
So those are 2 good ones. I think a couple bits of news that we should talk through. I assume the 49ers won. I assume that game's final by now.
Yeah.
They beat the Dolphins, and they did it without their starting quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo goes down early in the first quarter after I think maybe 3 or 4 passes with an ankle injury. and did not return. And he was carted off. Someone named Purdy.
Brock
played
Purdy.
Quarterback.
Iowa State legend, Brock Purdy.
And the 49ers won. They beat a good team. Now, granted, they did it at home, but they did it, and they beat them pretty bad, 33-17.
Yeah, the score is not reflective of what the game was. It was a lot of garbage time. It was 23-17, I think, with 2 minutes left in the game.
Yep.
So it was a really close game. And Miami had like a 4th and 2 that they were like similar to like the DK catch of last week. Like it got called for it, and then they reverted back and they threw an interception in the red zone. Like it was a really, really close game. And then at the end, they were trying to chase points once they went up 9, and Tua threw a pick 6, and then the backup quarterback came and he threw another pick. So the score looks a little one-sided, but it was a really close one-score game. But San Francisco's defense won the game essentially, and Tyreek Hill broke through for a big touchdown, but their offense was still able to do okay with this Purdy character that Nathan and Derek knew. So I was impressed. But
yep. Purdy was 25 of 37 for 210 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick.
Yeah, he looked like Jimmy
88.8
Garoppolo.
rating. What's that?
He looked like Jimmy Garoppolo.
It's not a hard act to follow.
Yeah.
How much do you think it matters if Jimmy's out for an extended period?
And initially, I would have thought a lot, but they ran their offense pretty smoothly once Purdy came in. And the things they're asking him to do is not that difficult. It's why Jimmy's had probably a really good year there. It's just with McCaffrey, the dump offs there, and they can run the ball and play defense. They don't ask a lot out of their quarterback, which is why I think he was able to smoothly slide into that spot.
Yeah, I don't know. My sense is it's not going to make that big of a difference. My initial thought was like, oh, this could actually change the math for the division. And then I saw the Seahawks play defense. And then I saw the 49ers still beat a good team. You're totally right, Jeff. It was close all the way. But that in of itself says something. Like Miami's offense has been really, really good this year. Tua is by far and away been the best quarterback from any like metric standpoint you look at. And they beat him today. And to some extent, I just wonder if it makes life more straightforward for the 49ers. Like they get even more clear about their identity and just pounding the ball and, little easy dump off passes. I do wonder if it affects if he's out for the season, which I doubt he will be. If he is out for the season, I do think it puts more of a ceiling on what they can do in the playoffs. Is probably the biggest impact. I don't know how much of an impact it would have on their win-loss record the rest of the way.
In other divisional quarterback news, I think it came out today that Matt Stafford has a spinal cord contusion, which is basically a bruise on his spinal cord. Who knows what that means for his future, but feels like something that if I had a spinal cord contusion, I would seriously consider my football career future.
Yeah. Well, good wishes to him. That's scary stuff. Anytime you're talking spinal injury, you got to take that super seriously. And the Rams doing the right thing by shutting him down. They have nothing on the line the rest of this year. And I don't know anything about that kind of injury. Hopefully it is something that heals up in time and there's no other side effects from it. But that's pretty scary. It does look like we got some injury news on Mr. Walker, K9. Bob Condata tweeted out that Pete Carroll says Walker, quote, jammed his ankle, but doesn't know yet what that means. So
hold on. Jimmy Garoppolo is done for the season.
Whoa.
Apparently he broke his foot and is done for the season.
Whoa.
Let me just double check. Yep. Ari
huge.
Did either of you see the injury? Because this has me freaked out about Walker now.
His ankle got twisted up.
Yeah, like Garoppolo had a guy land on his ankle
Gotcha.
while he was like twisted under it, so it was a pretty bad looking injury. Kenneth Walker he heard it kind of afterwards, like he stepped funny and seemed to catch the turf or something. So who knows, but it certainly didn't look like a season ending kind of thing.
No.
I thought it was gonna be a foot injury. They called it an ankle. Sorry, Jeff, you look like you got more news.
No, just Kyle Shanahan said broken foot. He's not supposed to play the rest of the year.
Wow. How many teams lose 2 quarterbacks for the year? Doesn't happen that often, right?
No. There's a lot of injuries today. Lamar got hurt. Trevor Lawrence got hurt.
Okay. I know this is a Seahawks postgame show, but this is so critical for the Seahawks. What do you do if you're the 49ers next year? Like the whole reason their news came out today that they're actually open to having Jimmy come back next year, but it was kind of contingent on how the rest of the year went. I think wink, wink, if they win a Super Bowl or they go far in the playoffs, then we're not going to send the guy packing. Now they won't know. What do you do?
They're kind of fucked. Unless Brock Purdy comes in, he becomes like a capable hedge for Lance. But
don't you put that out in the universe, Jeff.
I know. I'm just saying these guys. Their whole thing was Jimmy was going to hedge Lance because Lance is. We haven't seen anything yet to know that he's the guy. He's coming off major injury. The big data point for Jimmy, we've seen what he's done in the past in the playoffs where he's been really limiting. Now we don't get to see the playoffs where he's really improved this year, Jimmy. He's played the best ball of his career. And they looked like the team that was going to come out of the NFC. I would have said that going into today. And now without Jimmy, I think they're, like you just said, I think their ceiling's shot now a little bit. I think they're still a good team, but I don't know if they can win the NFC with Brock Purdy. And I think that's a huge issue for where they're at long term. They lose key information that I think really would have determined Jimmy's future there.
Then what do you do if you're the 49ers? Do you have a clear point of view, or is it hard to say? Is Nathan still with us, or did he pause? We might have lost Nathan.
Do you guys
I look at the 49ers remaining. Go ahead.
How was that Bobby Wagner play ruled an interception?
All right, so I know people are pissed about that, and normally I'd be up in arms, but
I don't care. I'm just curious.
Pissed at me for even feeling this way. But what I saw was Jones, who caught the ball, never totally completed the catch. Like he caught it, he went to the ground, but it was moving around. And let's say Bobby wasn't involved with that play at all. Mm-hmm. If Tony Jones catches the ball the same way he did, and it moves around the same way it did when he hit the ground, and then it hit the turf after that, they would have ruled no catch. So he didn't control it through the ground. I hate this rule as much as anybody else, but as far as I understand, like that made sense to me. And the fact that he didn't control it and then Bobby ended up with it, I could see it. I didn't love it.
I just thought his knee was down.
It was pretty annoying, but I could see it. I could see it. Just looking at the 49ers, because look, the division becomes at least a conversation with that situation. We don't this is the first week any defense, like Miami had no idea that Jimmy G is going to be out, so they had to prepare differently. Now everyone's going to be preparing for Bryce Purdy. They're going to put everybody to commit to the line of scrimmage. They play the Bucks from here. Then they go on short week to play the Seahawks on Thursday night. Then the Commanders come to San Francisco. The Commanders have become a pretty damn good team. Then they go to the Raiders, and the Raiders, by the way, won again today. They beat the Chargers. They're playing better, as we know. And then they finish up with the Cardinals at home. So I thought the 49ers had a pretty cake finish to the year. I don't know. I might be able to talk myself, depending on what happens with the Bucks, I might be able to talk myself into the division might be open again.
You know, it's funny because Evan gets so much crap for like his wild emotional swings. 1 minute he'll tweet out "fire Pete Carroll," and the next minute he'll tweet out "run the table." I think sneakily you have sneaky emotional swings too. Like you will from 1 minute go to like the only thing I care about is if the Broncos lose to they could win the division.
Well, see, first of all, I will not deny any of that. I am like as emotional, if not more emotional, than any Seahawks fan out there. The reason I write a morning after column instead of a recap right after is because I cannot be objective right after a Seahawks game. There's no way. I need to have a night's sleep. But the key difference here, Nathan, is the 49ers are involved. If there is any way to have 49er misery coupled with, like, I don't believe the Seahawks are any better than I did 5 minutes ago. That has not changed. But if the 49ers can come back to us a little bit and the Seahawks could find a way to, like, they have a much easier finishing schedule than the 49ers for sure, then maybe something silly happens, and I am here for that. Like, I would, if I could be like on one side lapping up Broncos tiers and on the other side be lapping up 49ers tiers, that would be just a few notches below the Super Bowl victory. Like that would be deeply, deeply rewarding for me as a very petty person.
I'm rooting for it just for you. Just for your happiness.
I appreciate that. That. All right.
I think Nathan nailed something. I did not know that Brian had that Evan side to him because we're now texting during these Broncos games, and the swings are like you should have seen the stuff he was saying before Baltimore drove down the field. They were talking about like Evan blowing up the city of Baltimore. And,
those are private texts, Jeff. Those aren't for public sharing.
I know that's the only one I'll say, but yeah, Brian's low key emotion, like wild emotional swings. He's so calm on the show, other than after the Tampa game, but every week.
See, I won't divulge any state secrets, but it's tense in the group chat when the Broncos are playing.
Football for me especially is like, it's always been the place where you just like let it all go. And in fact, I've had to rein it in over the years because I let it go way too much and wasn't always proud of how I handled myself. But I do like letting, ride in the wave back and forth. I just have to stay away from Twitter and saying anything publicly that I don't want to put out there for the world. But I'm not going to take anything back I just said about loving every minute of 49er and Bronco misery. Like, bring it all to me. I will happily always take it. So, all right, boys. Any other news to break? I see Jen Maz is saying that you haven't seen the paper bag. Yeah, honestly, like, there hasn't been a paper bag moment. If they had lost to the Rams, it would have been worthy of that. But I have not thrown my putter since I was a teenager, for what it's worth. But when I did, I threw it a long way over a fence onto a street.
Oh, no.
I was a big putter thrower back then, but no longer. Anyway, yeah, I think I lost my train of thought. I don't know what I was saying. Oh, yeah. So we're going to have to gather the crew this Wednesday for what's going to be a pretty critical conversation about what's going on with the Seahawks, what we expect to happen. Their next game is anybody?
Panthers?
Yes, Carolina Panthers at home. Sam Darnold and the world beaters, and then a quick turnaround against the 49ers. So I think you could argue the next two games, which is going to be a week from Thursday, two games will be played within 4 days, Sunday to Thursday. And how the 49ers do against the Bucks, how the Seahawks do against the Panthers, and then how they do against each other will pretty much decide the division. I think that's pretty safe to say at this point. Any closing thoughts from either of you guys? Jeff, start with you.
I'm just hoping the defense could get markedly better, just something. it's been so painful to watch the defense the last 2 weeks, even 3 weeks. It's just give us something to be excited about. I know Tariq did a couple things, but Carolina, like we just played a bunch of backups and they were still embarrassing on defense. So cool to see Geno, but man, like I need to see something on defense before I can like talk about winning a division. So please, we got Sam Darnold coming up at home. Let's try to do something. Get off the field, stop the run, please.
Tariq Woolen, Defensive Player of the Year. I want to see y'all in every national reporter's mentions yelling at them about why they don't have Tariq Woolen in their Defensive Player of the Year ranking, or why he's not at the top.
I love that. I also expect you've already ordered your Tony Jones jersey. Every new Seahawks running back immediately results in a new jersey purchase for Nathan Ernst.
Every fifth string running back that comes in and plays as well as the starter, I buy their jersey immediately.
Are we like looking at a Robert Turbin signing? Is he going to be back for the Seahawks now?
We're getting Marshawn and a Walker.
Oh boy. Yes. All right, everybody. Well, thank you all for tuning in. If you haven't already, give the show a like. Go over to hawkblogger.com. Check out Morning After column will be up tomorrow. Go to patreon.com/hawkblogger and sign up. Get access to hundreds of people in the Slack channel talking Seahawks all the time, and Mariners, by the way. And it's a safe place to be. A lot of fun. A lot of people informing each other and keeping it lighthearted. So a good alternative to Twitter, as we don't know what's going to happen next with Twitter. So it's a good place to be. Patreon.com/hawkblogger. Yes, Tariq Woolen, #DPOY is already trending in this chat. Time to get that trending elsewhere. Take care, everybody. Your Seahawks managing to stay in it, and our Broncos managing to stay out of it. Good stuff. Take care.